So today's lesson is 182. These lessons, the 180s, they're packed. They're like really dense lessons, and there's a lot in each of them, and it's almost like they've taken all of the concepts and sort of like sprinkled them out throughout the 180s. Anyway, that's what I found. So you'll hear a lot of what you already know in these lessons. This course just repeats itself over and over. So the lesson is, I will be still an instant and go home. If you want to, use this time to practice, to embody. Here we like to discuss, discover, embody, and apply and embody. But take some time to just embody it. Get right to the embodiment part, which means like, while I read it to you, let yourself be still. My mom used to read to us when we were little kids, crazy books like Moby Dick. Like, who reads Moby Dick to little kids? Which, Moby Dick has no girls in it. It's all boys chasing fish. It was like, what is this story about, and where's the pretty part? Anyway, just be still. Just be still and take in the lesson. This world you seem to live in is not your home. And somewhere in your mind, you know that this is true. A memory of home keeps haunting you, as if there was a place that called you to return, although you do not recognize the voice, nor what it is the voice reminds you of. Yet still you feel an alien here, from somewhere all unknown. Nothing so definite that you could say with certainty you were in exile here. Just a persistent feeling, sometimes not more than a teeny throb, at other times hardly remembered, actively dismissed, but surely to return to mind again. Well, who hasn't felt like that? Where you're like, am I even supposed to be here? Like, this world is so weird. Like, I know I have mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers, and I'm tethered to this world, but is this all there is? And I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. So I feel like you're like a distant cousin crashing a wedding where you don't know anybody, and it's like all of us have felt that. No one but knows whereof we speak, yet some try to put by their suffering in games they play to occupy their time and keep their sadness from them. Others will deny that they are sad and do not recognize their tears at all. Still others will maintain that what we speak of is an illusion, not to be considered more than but a dream. Yet who, in simple honesty, without defensiveness and self-deception, would deny he understands the words we speak? We speak today for everyone who walks the world, for he is not at home. He goes certainly about an endless search, seeking in darkness what he cannot find, not recognizing what it is he seeks. 1,000 homes he makes, yet none content his restless mind. He does not understand he builds in vain. The home he seeks cannot be made by him. There is no substitute for heaven. All he ever made was hell. So that sounds kind of sad, that we're just sort of like lost in this world and, lost travelers in this world. And what I would say to that is that, don't worry, they're directing us towards our true home, which is our connection with the divine. It's like an umbilical cord. And as long as we care for the connection with the divine, the home, the form, will take care of itself. In this feeling of lost and separation, it comes about when we think of ourselves as living in the world and being human beings that is subject to the forms and figures of the world. If we first put our priorities straight and know that we are extensions of God's love, then all of the worldly stuff it takes the form that's most optimal for the conscious plan of the divine. So this is just simply saying to us, if you are too hung out and strung up on the form, you're going to feel lost. Who hasn't felt like that? And who hasn't seen their whole world transform when they get reconnected with their divine and they look out in the world and say, well, this is just a lovely place, isn't it? This is a beautiful little vacation that we're on, a little fun house that we're living in. 4, perhaps you think it's your childhood home that you would find again. The childhood of your body and its place of shelter are a memory now so distorted that you merely hold a picture of a past that never happened. I think that's such an interesting line, so kind of poetic, where it's saying like that all your thoughts of your childhood, you think that they, you hold these thoughts, but you're so far, I'm so far from these thoughts, and they've been so twisted by my own interpretation that I'm actually like reliving a childhood that never happened. Because that's what happens with memories. They get distorted and changed, and you ask any 2 siblings in a household, like, do you remember when Mom used to make pineapple upside down cake? And the other one will say, no, my mom never made pineapple upside down cake. So that's just a subtle, example of how what we all see things so differently. We're like the 7 blind men sitting around the elephant, only seeing what we think is true, and what we believe we will see. So anyway, I think that's an interesting bit. Yet there is a child, capital C, in you who seeks his father's house and knows that he is alien here. This childhood is eternal with an innocence that will endure forever. So now they're pointing us back to, the truth of who we are. There is a child, capital C, within you, a light within you that is so divine. Like, why would you seek for breadcrumbs in this world when you have that, when you know that? And when you know that, the world becomes a banquet. Where the child shall go is holy ground. It is his holiness that lights up heaven and that brings to earth the pure reflection of the light above, wherein are earth and heaven joined as one. So they give us 2 examples here. One of this home where we're like lost and confused and like, am I even supposed to be here? When I was a little kid, I was a little weird, but I used to tell my neighbors that I was adopted. And one time, their mom came to my mom and they're like, our daughters told us that Maureen was adopted, and I just think it's amazing that you adopted a child after having, 6 of your own. And my mother's like, she wasn't adopted. But there is that, mythology that we carry, like, I don't belong to these people. But when we find that we are the child of the beloved, then all of it begins to make sense. Then we can sort of wear the world loosely. In his holiness that lights up heaven and brings to earth the pure reflection of the light above, wherein are heaven and earth joined as one. It is this child in you your Father knows as his own son. It is this child who knows his Father. So you could say, it is this light that knows its source. It is this source that knows its extension. It is this child who knows its source. He desires to go home so deeply, so incessantly. His voice cries out to you to let him rest a while. He does not ask for more than just an instant of respite, just an interval in which he can return to breathe again the holy air that fills his Father's house. You are his home as well. He will return. But give him just a little time to be himself within the peace that is his home. Rest in silence and in peace and love. So like right now, like take a deep breath. Like go ahead and close your eyes. Nobody's watching. It's your spiritual practice. Like really let yourself anchor down into a greater degree of peace. There's an inner child within you that's just waiting for that exhale that you might have been holding for the whole damn pandemic, maybe your entire life. Just let it go. Just entertain some peace. Literally let your brow unfurrow. Release yourself from all of the responsibilities that the ego has placed upon your plate. And just give yourself just a moment of respite. The child needs your protection. He's far from home. He's so little that he seems so easily shut out. His teeny voice is readily obscured. He calls for help, almost unheard amid the grating sounds and harsh and raspy noises of the world. Yet does he know that in you still abides his sure protection. You will fail him not. He will go home, and you along with him. This child is your defenselessness, your strength, He trusts in you. He came because he knew you would not fail. He whispers of his home unceasingly to you, for he would bring you back with him, that he himself might stay and not return again where he does not belong, and where he lives an outcast in the world of alien thoughts. His patience has no limits. He will wait until you hear his gentle voice within you calling to him to let him go in peace along with you to where he is at home and you with him. Again, it's just talking about the agitation that lives within us, but also the peace that lives within us, the peace child that lives within us. And it's like, what, tiger are we going to feed today? Are we going to feed that rambunctious, anxious child who runs around the attic, just flipping buckets and causing problems? Or are we going to, feed that peace child who's just wants a little rest? When you are still an instant, when the world recedes from you, when the valueless ideas cease to have value in your restless mind, then will you hear his voice. So poignantly he calls to you that you will not resist him longer. In that instant he will take you to his home, and you will stay with him in perfect stillness, silence, and at peace beyond all words, untouched by fear and doubt, sublimely certain that you are at home. Now, we're not actually going anywhere, except we're changing our minds. And we're allowing our minds to be marinated in peace so that we don't need to travel to the future and we don't need to dabble in the past, so that we can experience a greater ability to be right here, right in the present moment. That's where that's where the peace is. Rest with him today. Rest with him frequently today. For he was willing to become a little child, that you might learn of him how strong is he who comes without defense. Think about that. Every time you rush to the future or dabble in the past, there's a accompaniment of defense. We're defending against this moment. We're saying, I don't want to be in this moment. I want to be anywhere but here. In this moment, it's not good enough for me. In this moment, it's not enough for me. So if your eyes are closed, open them up and look around where you're at. Look at this magnificent moment that you have created, that God has created for you, the way the light hits everything around you. Look at the stunningness that you live amongst. And even if it seems chaotic and messy, actually there's so much beauty right where you are. Take it in. Say hello to your life. It says, offering only love's messages to those who think he is their enemy. He holds the might of heaven in his hands and calls them friends and gives them strength to them, that they may see he would be friend to them. And he asks that they protect him for his home is far away, and he will not return to it alone. So, this child within us is hey, give me a break. Let's not jump into the future because we're fractured there. And let's not, play in the shadows of the past because we're not actually there anymore. Could you give me a break and just let me be right here? Because that would be you taking care of me. And that would be you taking care of you. And that would be you letting God take care of you. You don't think God knows about the future? Place the future in the hands of God. The future will come. It always does. You don't have to worry about it. But what we do get to care for is this present moment. Christ is reborn as but a little child each time a wanderer would leave his home, for he must learn that what he would protect is but a child who comes defenseless and who is protected by defenselessness. Go home with him from time to time today. You are as much an alien here as he. Take time today to lay aside your shield, which profits nothing. Lay down the spears and swords you raised against an enemy without existence. Christ has called you friend and brother. Isn't that beautiful? Christ has called you friend and sister. He has come to ask your help in letting him go home today, complete and completely. He has come as does a little child who must beseech his Father for protection and for love. He rules the universe, and yet he asks unceasingly that you return with him and take illusions as your God no more. I don't know if you were there for the talk I gave, a couple months ago. And I just listed, I think, the first two Gospels, all the references of when Jesus went to pray. It was like, he went over here and then he prayed and he talked to those guys and then he went to pray and then he went to this and he prayed, and it was like praying all the time. There's all of these examples of how and then he left them and he walked out to the desert to pray, and then he went into the garden to pray. It was like, the man knew how to take care of his spiritual well-being. And even the apostle said to him, Jesus, teach us how to pray, because they knew his God by his actions, and they were like, this guy has a connection, and we want that connection. So this is the same thing that's talking about here. It's like, it's nice that we get up in the morning and, bolster our spiritual well-being, but this is something that can be thread throughout our entire day. And today it says, take time to rest. It says, take time today to lay aside your shields. The final paragraph is, you have not lost your innocence. It is for this you yearn. This is your heart's desire. This is the voice you hear, and this is the call which cannot be denied. The Holy Child remains with you. His home is yours. Today he gives you his defenselessness, and you accept it in exchange for all the toys of battle you have made. And now the way is open, and the journey has an end in sight at last. Be still an instant and go home with him, and be at peace a while. So, the image that I'm getting is of the nativity. And a lot of times I think about how we are each, the characters in the nativity. We're a little Mary, we're a little Joseph, we're a little baby. But in this scenario, they're saying to us, you are the manger. You're holding this child within you. You're here to protect this child. You are actually the manger. The word manger is a French word that means to feed. So you are here to feed the world. What? Love. That's it. Oh, but I like to feed them a little bit of fear because I like fear. It makes me feel jagged and hopped up. I know. It's kind of like when you find your kid eating Sour Patch Kids for breakfast, and it's like, no, you don't want those. So I know that we have this subtle addiction to getting jagged and junky with each other and ourselves, but today for our self-care, we're going to attempt to really take care of ourselves and not allow ourselves to dabble so much in the future or be so far in the past. To just be here right now, knowing that we are responsible for caring for this innocence that dwells within us. And this innocence is not fed on, the blood of our enemies. It's not. And so we can sort of let that go. So I told you, these lessons, the 80s, 180s, they have a lot in them, even though they're sort of written in a very poetic way. I hope that this lesson brought you some peace. And we will do 2 minutes of meditation just so we can have some silence. But does anybody want to share anything that came up while we were reading this lesson, anything else that you saw that might be important to speak to? Okay. All right, beautiful. So this lesson is, I will be still an instant and go home. When I first started studying this course, this kind of lesson kind of scared me. I was like, does this mean I'm going to die? I was like, what does this home mean? What does this mean? And then I came to find that home was the present moment. Like, let me be at home in this moment. Let me really be in this moment. And you can take the time to be in this moment by practicing the earlier lessons. Let your eyes move around your room. Know I've given everything all the meaning it has for me. I don't want to project things. I want to experience things. Let me just experience the holiness of this moment, the temperature of the air on my skin, the sense of this room, the way that it smells, the different colors that are surrounding you. And really let this moment bring you to a deeper sense of peace. And when you're ready, close your eyes and continue to just follow your breath and see how well you can just stay with your breath and drink in this moment as if you were, this is a weird thing to say, but as if you were a baby nursing on your mother's breast, that you're just taking in this breath. This is the most nurturing thing that you could breathe in. It's going into every cell of your body. Let yourself be nurtured by this moment. Here we go for 2 minutes. That's our time. I hope that you enjoy that 2 minutes of peace. And sometimes it's like you need to have a little appetizer of peace, and then you'll go, oh, I really do want peace. That's really good stuff. I would like to order that for every meal with a side of peace and a tall, supersized glass of peace. Anyhow, anybody want to share anything that came up? Well, you might still be in your place of peace, and that's perfect. And this might be the perfect day to stay in that place of peace and see if you can be consistent with it. One beautiful day spent in consistent peace. Just imagine the miracles that could spring from that platform. You know, peace is the platform, the foundation of everything. That's why in Course in Miracles, the goal is peace. The goal is not win friends and influence people. The goal is not change the world. The goal is not, it's not even equality. The goal is peace. And from peace, equality, prosperity, all of the rest of it has an actual place to set up home. But without peace, we have nothing. We have no foundation. And that's how important peace is. If you want to build an empire here, fantastic. Go for it. But don't start without having a foundation of peace. Otherwise, your foundation will, crumble at the wink of an eye. You'll be on very shifty sand, and it'll be very frustrating. But when you say, all I want is peace, then God can build his castles, and God can bring his kingdoms. And you don't have to do anything but maintain that peace. This might be news to you, but it actually works. And you're worthy of it. You're worthy of peace. So we'll just put this into prayer, just a prayer for peace for all of us. All right, so we're just going to know that God is so good today and every day. We don't have to worry about every day when we've been gifted today. Today. This is the holy word, today. That we allow ourselves to be right here in this moment and really live this day. Stay alive and awake in this day. Noticing every single holy exchange of this day. And so I give thanks for our practice today and how it threads stuff throughout this day. I give thanks for all of our brothers and sisters. I ask the Holy Spirit to bless each and every single one of us from the top of our heads to the soles of our feet, and that we might practice on behalf of everyone today, of all of our brothers and sisters who might be out of peace, who might not have a big blue book at their disposal. So we don't just practice today for ourselves, we practice for everyone. And I give thanks for our ability to rest in peace and rest in God. And from that rest and from that defenselessness and from that confidence, I know that we will see a day of miracles.